All right, Garrett. So let's start with the drink. You got this little feel free plant-based herbal supplement. Let's cheers it up.
Guys, it tastes like shit. I'll tell you that much.
And now the story behind this, and so this is the second time we're doing this, and both guests have requested Ep1 drinks. So
Yeah, you
So this is
ritzy
2 for 2.
motherfuckers. Yeah.
It's also right down the street. So.
and the story behind this is you substituted
First off,
caffeine.
shake it.
Yeah. Okay.
You substituted caffeine for this
Yeah.
about a week ago. So you're going through
Yeah.
some caffeine withdrawals.
Yeah, absolutely. It sucks, dude. When you stop caffeine, man, first 3 days, you'll feel like weird headaches, tired. You said you felt the same thing. Like, dude, even today when I was in the studio, I took a nap. Like, I think like 2 of them. Just
Yeah, it's
20-minute power
necessary,
naps.
especially if you're used to drinking coffee your whole life. Cheers, boys.
Yeah, I
cheers.
just
Feel
took a
free.
little swig. And I got ID'd for this.
You're gonna feel drunk at some point. When you
There's some.
it's gonna make you.
I kind of
feel-
like it.
It's gonna make you.
I like
feel
weird
a little,
shit, but-
Okay.
There's kava and kratom in it. Long story short is that I think it's the kava. One of them, kava or kratom, I'm not too sure. I just started it not too long ago. But one of those ingredients, no, it's the kratom. If you have too much kratom, it kind of makes you like, it's almost acts like as like a painkiller. But if you have it in small doses, it acts as almost like a stimulant.
Okay.
So they have just the right amount of kratom in there, and then the kava kind of gives you this like psychoactive, like feel good, like feel free.
We'll see.
effect,
We'll see
almost
what
like this
happens
drunk
by the end of the
feeling.
pod.
It tastes
Yeah,
healthy.
All right, so
Get
let's
slutty.
start. I'm sure you've been asked about FBOY Island a billion times.
Yep.
How has your life changed? You know, from before the show to after the show, and now what are we like? Probably a year and a half, 2 years later since you filmed.
Yeah, so well, we just filmed the last season just came out in August, and I was also a part of that. So they brought me back for season 2. So about 6 months ago was when the last episode aired. But for the first season, yeah, man, how would I say it changed my life? Whew. Well, first off, it labeled me as a fuckboy.
Definitely.
So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But even when I first went to do the show, I really only did the show for like the check. I was like, I'm gonna go on this show. Social currency is a big thing in LA, as you all know. It's probably the blue check's probably like the biggest form of an NFT to this day. Really is.
Yeah.
No,
I
yeah,
mean,
I
all
agree.
NFTs
We're trying to get the blue check for the app, so yeah.
Yeah,
That's
all the other NFTs in this world are, as you can tell, not doing too hot, to say the least. Bunch of scam artists in there. But no, so it's probably the biggest form of, social currency that you can get, top of everyone's, DMs whenever you message someone. So that's really why I did the show.
Yeah. Did you have any sort of like expectations in terms of? Did you know what the show was before you went on? Basically,
Absolutely not.
Okay, so they don't tell you anything.
Dude, we didn't know what the show was till after it was shot and they're in post-production.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of got a gist of it. Like going into it, we had no idea. When we were sitting there, we had to do like a quarantine because this was the first one was like right around like the whole COVID scare and everything like that. So we had to sit in a room for about like 18 days because one kid got like a false negative, so we had to stay in there for an extra bit of time. But it was in like a room like this, dude, with
Wow.
like a balcony, and you couldn't talk to anyone really.
Also, I love how you said that whole COVID scare, because like that's like the first time it feels like normalized, where it's like it happened a long time ago. People are moving on, because usually it's like, oh, COVID, but you're like that whole COVID scare.
Yeah.
Now I like that. From now on, let's go with that.
Yeah.
that little COVID thing.
That little COVID thing, shut down the world, and just now we're still seeing the after effects of it on our economy right now. But besides that, yes, we had no idea what the show was going to be called. We were kind of trying to guess. There were like blogs online that you could kind of see, but when we were down there, I mean, obviously at one point they were like, all right, you're an F-boy or you're a nice guy. But to our knowledge, it was like, okay, just hide what you are, because the whole premise is you hide your status, and eventually they'll know. So we didn't know if it was going to be like, I don't know, like Bro Island or something. I don't know. We were just, it could have been anything.
Yeah.
I just didn't think it was going to be that.
when did they reach out to you?
So in 2020, I made a good bit of money. I invested in a couple companies, and they reached out to me, I think, around like August. We didn't shoot till like that March. So, dude, they reached out to me, and they kept reaching out to me, and I was like, nah, I don't want to do this. It's going to be bad for business, etc. I talked to a couple of my business partners, and they were like, you know what? Just do it, man. So that's when I was like, fuck it, I'll do it. But I didn't get the green light until literally the day after my birthday. They called me. I was super hungover in Miami. Just got out of a strip club. And they were like, yo.
Sounds on point.
I know. And they're like, yo, do you want to be a part of this show? I was like, all right, cool. And I knew I was going in there as like how they explained it at first, like in the interview process was, a bad boy versus like a nice guy. And I was like, I'm not a nice guy. Because I was like, what do you guys even classify that as?
Yeah.
So they reached out to me, and they reached out to me to be a nice guy on. I didn't know what the name of the show was.
I totally see him being a nice guy.
So around August, they reached out to me and they said, we need more nice guys for this dating show. And I was like, all right. And they explained the fuckboy versus the nice guy. And this is when I just met Hannah and I was doing the app. And I went through the same process as you. And I was like, oh, is this good for business or what should I do? And I was like, you know what? I kind of like Hannah a lot. I don't know what's going to happen with the app.
Yeah.
And then I didn't do it, but I was going to be, I don't know if I would have fully made it, but they were interviewing me to be a nice guy.
Well, I love that. I mean, you have to choose the girl, man. I mean, in my episode,
That's interesting coming from you, but
I was dating a girl and like right before the show, she was actually with me when I got the call to go on the show. And I was like, yeah, it's just a call from this TV show. It's like some challenge type of show. Whatever. Like literally, and then like a day after, I was like, yeah, I'm out.
how'd you take it? How long are you guys together?
Man. We were probably together from when I first got the initial call, because I was actually going to do Love Island with her, and then I was out in Vegas and I did something that I shouldn't have done. And I got kicked out. So I
Kicked out of the city?
kicked out of like the show.
Oh, I see.
Before,
Okay.
And then so probably like that August. So we were probably talking for like 6 months leading up to it. We traveled the world, did a lot of cool things together. How I ended it now, like when I look back on it, yeah, it was really fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
not a
fun.
good look.
Okay. Shit happens. You've learned.
Yeah.
Lived and learned, growing. It's funny because I know the show had to classify, fuck boys and nice guys for like the show's sake just to make an easy differentiator. But I kind of define a nice guy as like also manipulative, because I think a lot of nice guys like, are pretending to be nice just to get sex or get something from the girl.
Yeah.
I kind of separate like good guys versus nice guys, because nice guys I think are very manipulative in their own ways. And they kind of just hide who they truly are or hide their true intentions.
You know what that tells me? Is that at one point in life, he was dating some chick. And after the relationship was over, she probably had like some kid who acted like it was her best friend or whatever. And like they were like good friends. And then he probably like came in and smashed.
I don't have a
happened? 'Cause that
specific
happened to me
example,
one
but I've seen it happen a lot.
I had that happen to me. That's what I was going to say.
No, that's a good point. Yeah. And yeah, they try to friend their way into pussy or whatever.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I could see that.
yeah.
So on the show, can you directly tell who the nice guys were versus the fuckboys? Or is it just a big mix and you had to figure it out, like you said?
Yeah, so me and my boy Casey, who was like my best friend on the show for season 1, we hit it off right off the jump. Every single dude was trying to hide who they were. For us, we put down a little list of who we thought was who, and we just like passed it along to each other. And I think we missed like maybe like 2.
Out of how many?
Out of
24.
Yeah, 24.
So there's 12 women, 12 men?
No.
No.
Oh, 24 guys, and you had to all judge each other.
There was 30 dudes that came in to the show. So in quarantine is when we wrote our list, kind of.
Yeah. So 3 women and then 30 guys competing for the 3 women. Essentially.
shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
How was Nikki Glazer as a host?
Dude, Nikki was good. I mean, I did some little like improv stuff with her in season 2. I love Nikki. I have nothing
she's
bad
great.
to say about her, man.
Yeah.
She's great. It was funny because all the dudes that like weren't talking to the girls at one point were like, "Yo, screw this! Like, I'm going for Nikki."
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's what I said I probably would have tried to do. Yeah.
So now, out of the 3 women, can you tell if they were gravitating more towards the nice guys or the fuckboys?
In my season, well, in season 1, I mean, every single girl chose pretty much a fuckboy.
Yeah.
Even the dude who ended up being a nice guy for CJ. I mean, well, he just texted me the other day and said he's having a kid, but he was going in there like a giant fuckboy, and I don't know how he was somehow a nice guy. But in season 2, I think season 2 is the same thing. Every girl wanted pretty much a fuckboy.
Yeah.
They'd hang out with like a nice guy for a little bit, and they're like, oh, like he's nice, he's sweet, or whatever, and
Yeah, I think like you said, right? You were going on the show for an intention, right? To get a blue check mark, to get some credibility in LA, and I feel like the women will probably do the same thing. It's like, I don't really want to go on this show to find love. Like, I want to go and get my name out there, and fuck boys are probably hot. Let me sleep with some fuck boys. And
yeah. I think, and then I also think like a lot of the girls that were on the show wanted to have kind of that, relationship that, kind of blows you up in the social light. Like, for example, like Too Hot to Handle, Harry and Francesca.
Yep.
Like, all the girls are kind of trying to have like that type of relationship with the guys.
Yeah, you got painted as the villain, but it's like everyone's there for the same type of reason in their own way.
A lot of people were, but no one, like even in season 2, like none of the dudes had the balls to be like, "I'm taking the money. Sorry, let's end this."
Shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know how it ended? Well, do you know?
I don't even know how the show works.
Okay.
So now I know that there's 3 women, 30 guys.
Yeah, half are nice guys, half are F boys. Go on dates and stuff like that with them. You're barely with the girls, so the only time you're really with them is like when you're on camera. So like, it's not like there's other shows like Love Island where like you like stay in bed with them. Same with like Too Hot to Handle and stuff like that. The only time you really get to kick it with them is like whenever you're on camera, and then at the end you have to reveal your status about like episode 7. Meanwhile, people are getting kicked off every single episode, and then at the end, the girls choose the guys, and if they end up choosing a fuckboy, like he can take the money and end the relationship, or split the money with the girl and be in a relationship.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So how far did you make it?
To the end.
You were the...
Yeah, I was the only person that took the money over the girl. Like, "All right, deuces."
And
so that's
then-
why you're painted as a bad guy, because you took the money?
Yeah.
That's a
And
smart
then
decision.
they pulled, but they pulled the rug out from under you after that.
And then they had me donate that money to a charity of Sarah's choice, which ended up being like Ashton Kutcher's fund for like child sex trafficking.
So you had to donate the money because you chose the money?
Yeah.
But why would they give you a choice then?
I don't know.
To see your morals, dude. See what you
they
want to do.
pulled one on me. The reality is what happened is Sarah got so fucking mad whenever I took the money over her, and she like cameras off, everything like that. She was just like, "I can't fucking believe you guys. This is a women's empowerment show. Like, how
Really?
could you do this?"
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And then they were like, "All right, yeah. So we're gonna. We're gonna.
So it was
donate
all
this."
authentic. It wasn't staged, this incident.
No, not at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that last part that you just said. That's
Shit, I kinda
interesting.
wanna watch it
That's
now.
really interesting. They took it off HBO for some reason. I was trying to pull up some clips, but
Yeah.
Damn, that's fascinating though. So I think this is interesting because right before the show started, you kind of talked to us about like your evolution a little bit as a person and maybe why you are a fuckboy, right? Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Because I thought that was really interesting, and maybe people see like a different side of you.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't really till the TV show ended up, coming out, fully airing, and then me like looking in the mirror, like seeing text messages or DMs where like every message was like, "Yo, go kill yourself, go kill yourself." Then you had a bunch of like, alpha dudes who were like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, you did everything." Like, and it wasn't until kind of that time where I was like, "Man, did I really do the wrong thing? Like, what's wrong with me? Why?" And then I started questioning like every relationship. I actually sent like text messages to like every girl, like almost every girl that I dated, and was like, "Hey, like, I'm sorry that like I did X, Y, and Z. I just feel like I need to like let you know to get it off my chest." So I definitely had some introspection during that time, and then I found my birth mom, and my sister asked like during that Christmas, she was like, "Hey, you want to figure out like who your birth mom is, everything like that?" So she went on Russian Facebook, kind of right around like the time that Russia and Ukraine stuff was happening. So I got to talk to my mom briefly, found out that I was taken away at birth. They told her I was dead, sold me on the black market. Born in St. Petersburg, orphanage was in Moscow. I didn't get picked out till I was about 2 years old. Talked to a therapist and was like, "What's wrong with me? Like, I have these abandonment issues."
This is after you found your birth mom that you talking.
I started talking to a therapist, and I was just like, "Hey, like, what's wrong with me? Like, this is what every single relationship's been like." And then when I met you guys, and I just got out of a relationship with a girl that like I really loved, I realized like I pushed all these boundaries with every girl that I'm with to see like how much they truly love me, so they won't leave me. And I always knew I had like these abandonment issues, but I never went fully in depth with it until I really pushed away someone that like I really loved. And like I think that pain that I felt after that relationship helped me learn. And I feel like a lot of times like we learn from pain, and I feel like now I'm kind of in this phase where it's like, all right, time to learn from love. I've done enough fucking up. Time to, step it up.
Yeah.
Be a better person.
I think that's awesome. I mean, we always talk about like there's always things that happen in life, and there's 2 ways to go about them, right? Like you can take one road that's probably not the best for you, or you could take the other road where it's like you're doing, right? This is what happened. people think of me this way. Let me look in the mirror and figure out, do I want to evolve, or do I want to keep being this person of me who's not what I truly feel, right? And I think you didn't feel like yourself. Then you got this outside image saying this is how you are, and you're like, shit, I want to get to understand who I am more, and I think that's super cool, actually.
Yeah, we sat there and I was like, my parents didn't raise me like this. And, you know, kind of what you're talking about before this in regards to like your girl is like, I've realized that I'm the guy who's caused all those traumas to those girls for their future relationships. And that's why it started like fucking me up. Like I was like, shit, like no girl's gonna trust like the next person that they're with because of how I moved and like my traumas from like, you know, and that's why I was like, nothing bad has happened in my life. Like I have two most loving adopted parents ever. They're the most amazing parents. Like I consider them my real parents. Like, what is going on? Why do I keep doing this? Why do I have 5 girls on the side just in case like my heart gets broken? Or like when, you know, a girl does something, like I act kind of like passive aggressive and then I see like, will they, you know, come love me more so then I can get that validation. And I was like, what am I doing? And I kind of learned it all through that process. And I mean, how all those traumas that happened to me at such an early age have, you know, they've been spilled onto other people and it's bled into like their relationships. And I think that's kind of what like messes me up because some of the relationships I had, dude, they did not end well.
And you had said prior to getting on air that you had cheated on every girlfriend you've ever dated.
Yeah, every girlfriend that I've ever dated, I cheated on, except the last one, even though she's going to consider, technically we were talking for like 6 to 8 months. And during that 6 to 8 month time, like I was hooking up with other girls. She didn't know. And then when I asked her to be my girlfriend, I told her like 2 weeks before I asked her to be my girlfriend, I was like, I fucked someone. And then I told her.
That was it?
Yeah, and then she was like, yo, what? Like, how would you feel if I did that? And I was like, yeah, you're right. I would never speak to you.
Yeah.
I mean, even after how we started in the beginning, like when I was hooking up with other girls and she knew and like they were friends, it was one of those things where if she did that to me, I would have never spoken to her again.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You're learning, bro. You're evolving right in front of our eyes. You're going from Genghis Khan to like the Dalai Lama, it seems like.
Yeah, and it's super interesting because it seems like the show really did help you in the grand scheme of life, right? Maybe in the short term of the show and after the show, it was like, shit, you're getting all these threats and, you know, terrible messages. But from talking to you, like I don't really know you well. We met once and now we're getting to know each other here. You seem like a genuine good dude who's like self-aware and at least taking the steps to be the best person he could be, which is awesome in my eyes, you know?
Yeah. I think that show was, you know, kind of a blessing from God as like a wake-up call. And I think my last relationship was truly a blessing from God on like that person that I was with is exactly who I want in a wife. I just pushed the boundaries too far. And I didn't do anything that was like, in my eyes, would be catastrophic in a relationship. But ultimately, at the end of the day, like, I pushed the boundaries, and you can only go so far until you push someone over the edge.
Yeah. Is there any hope for a future potentially, or is it?
You know, it's
done?
funny. She reached out to me like right before, like around like Christmas time, and we chopped it up for a little bit. But how she reached out to me was so immature. It was very like ego driven. Of like, you follow this person, X, Y, and Z. I can't believe that you would do that. It's the one person that I wouldn't want you to follow. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
So it wasn't like Merry Christmas, I wish you were here. It was like, fuck you.
It ended up turning into like a giant thing, like of like apologize to me, X, Y, and Z. And then it was, you know what, maybe like this chat has opened up a door where we can become friends. And then immediately, like I think a day after that, like I posted some chick on my story.
That was it.
She blocked me again.
Wow.
Fully. So I was just like, all right.
Wait, so where are you from originally? Besides Russia, like in the States? Pittsburgh. Okay.
Steelers fan, baby. We didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah. I like the Steelers. I dig the Steelers.
So I guess my question is going to be though, like, because I think sometimes like living in LA, right, living in West Hollywood, Beverly Hills, like I think we kind of are in our own bubble, right?
Yeah.
So do you think that like being here specifically has like, you know, adds, like it makes it easier to be a fuckboy and like, I think like instead of like, you know, like a wholesome relationship, I think it's very hard to, especially being in the entertainment world.
Yeah.
Obviously being on the show you're on, like, do you find it tough here specifically?
That's a great question. As far as like if I wanted to just get laid, is it hard here? Absolutely not. As far as like having a healthy relationship based off seeing like what my parents have and like how amazing they are, and seeing how, you know, there's all of these different variables. And it really comes down to, I was double majored in business and math. It's like this multivariate analysis that like you have here where there's so many different variables that come into it. Oh, you know, do I want to date this girl because she'll help me with my social status? Do I want to date this person because of, you know, she's just hot as shit? Like, do I want to, when it comes down to that and like the morals and like really trying to find someone here, dude, it's fucked.
Yeah.
And that's what I've realized because I'm finally at this pace. Because, bro, before I didn't give a shit. I was like, all right, cool. Like, I had 5 girls lined up this week. This is going to be fun. All baddies, all like have a bunch of clout. Dude, literally girls that this world, like people like just dream of, that they drool over. And for me, it was like I didn't care at all. And now I'm in this phase where I'm like, I sit here and I'm like, I kind of want a good girl, and it's hard to find.
Kinda.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you actually mean that?
No, I'm in this phase where I'm like, and I told you guys this when I saw you on that hike, is I'm in this phase right now. It's where I need to build my career. I need to build everything that I'm doing, and then the right person will come in to like my life. I truly believe that. Like if I do everything that I need to do the right way, like the right girl will come in. And I've had opportunities where I've been out in the club, like super fucked up late night. And I'm like, yo, I could smash this chick right now. But I'm like, no, you know what? I'm not going to. And the next day I'm like, you know what? I'm done going to the club. I'm done going out. I'm not attracting the right people here. If I put myself in these certain positions, like I'm going to only attract what I'm putting out. And I need to put myself in positions where I would attract someone who ideally I think would be my wife. And that's kind of like where I'm at right now with all of this is like, dude, we are in this bubble, and we're in this bubble that like can be very toxic, and it can be very tempting because if you can't control your ego and you can't shove your ego, I see it with all of my friends, like it will ruin you, and it will make you more and more and more sad the more that you're out there just banging for ego, just banging for like, yo, look at this chick I fucked, like she has 15 million followers on IG, like I'm going to wife her for a little bit and then I'm going to dip. Like that ultimately, and I've seen with some of my friends that have told me, like even after they've hooked up with probably like 2-3 girls, like back to back, they'll be like, dude, I'm so lonely. And
We always talk about that. How? No, go ahead, finish.
And I'm just like, bro, how are you lonely? Like you just had 2 super cute chicks here the last 2 nights. And it's like, what is like that mentality, even make that statement? I would never make a statement like that. I would know that what I just did was super empty. So, I don't know, and you see with guys, like it's constantly that thing with your homies, like, yo, like, I hooked up with this chick. Or if you find a girl that you like you'll have your boys be like, oh, bro, like she smashed like my boy and like my other boy, and you're like, oh, you know what? Like I look at her differently. It's hard. It's hard to decipher that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think LA, like it's kind of like a chicken egg nature nurture thing because it attracts a certain type of person. And then also when you're here, like you said, if you can get caught in the trap and you can just go down, you know, a negative path because you're here and you're surrounded by all this stuff and like material and status and all that shit. So it attracts a person and then it can make it better. You know, you can get better from it, or you can go down a deep hole if you're not careful.
I think the biggest thing when it comes to that is we're all out here for our careers. We all want to like, you know, kind of, you know, I guess make it in a sense. We leave our families, we get completely uprooted because we want to like either prove something to ourselves or maybe prove something to our families and things like that. And we get lost. Like I look at it all the time now, is like even this past weekend, I really had, you know, I had an investor meeting and I went out and I got absolutely faded on Friday night. And I literally crippled my Saturday and Sunday. And I realized like when I'm out here, like I really should be out here for my career. And then on the weekends, like taking that time to just like reflect on the week and like what I can do better and stuff like that. If I have a chance to take a girl to dinner, great. But like right now, I don't care. I couldn't care any less. Like the biggest thing for me is like, how can I have another person in my life if I'm not, to me, financially free, financially stable to provide a life for that person? Because for me, like I look at it with my dad, is like, yeah, my mom worked a bit whenever they were first together and stuff like that. They had us, but ultimately like she's been retired for like 20 some years now, and my dad's fully the provider. And I feel like for the guy in general, like our life mission is to fully be a provider, whatever level or magnitude that is, but like to fully provide like for a family, for like the girl that you're with, where she doesn't have to worry a day in her life. For me, like that's the goal. And I think that's now where I'm like, okay, you know what? All the stuff that I've been doing isn't getting me to that right person. I've been close, but like I really need to, you know, I want a lot of nice things, so I
Yeah.
need to work really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what you said was all spot on, and the same mentality that I had coming here. When I first got here, all these shiny objects, right? I was like, shit, this is sick. Like you hook up with all these hot chicks, but then I was like, oh no, I came out here for a business, right? And that business needed to be the number one priority. And I found that LA is such a beautiful place if you do surround yourself with the right people and you are out here for the right reason, right? So out here for business, building that community with the right people, that led me to find someone who actually loves me, who wants me to take care of her in a, respectful way. And I just love being here. And I think that's kind of what you're saying is getting to that place of prioritizing what's important.
Yeah.
And everything else kind of just falls into place.
Yeah. And that's another thing that I've realized with me is that I have so many friends that are creators, big influencers, professional athletes, things like that. And I've realized with some of them, when they first came out here, they experienced this mini type of fame. And now I see so many of them burnt out. Like just so many of them burnt out. It's insane. And that's something that like I don't want to ever get myself into. And it's like a lot of them have just been lost in like just these things that don't fucking matter, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you said, right? Like you're hooking up with all these hot chicks, right? And it gets to a point where it's like, okay, I know I'm good looking. I know I can get these chicks, but what is it doing for me? Because like if my friend who's also hooking up with them, he's good looking, it's like, okay, we're all hooking up with the hot chicks.
Exactly.
I know I'm good looking. I know I can hook up with a hot chick, but what is it doing for me?
That value there, like, goes away. And I think for guys, like, and that's with my boy who was like, oh, I feel so alone. It's like probably because that girl has hooked up with probably 3 of his boys that he already knows. And he's like, what am I doing? Like, she's already been like ran by a couple of my friends. And it's like that ego of like, I accomplished this and I like, was able to, because you have guys out here who like, and I see with my friends where once they hook up with a girl, it's like they're territorial over them. And like once that like territorial, like, I guess like vibe or whatever, like leaves the situation of a hookup and your friends have been there, it gets lonely and it's like, okay, well.
Yeah, you kind of just start to feel bad about yourself, like morally, and like you said, empty. Empty is the best word. I feel like you've reached like enlightenment, right? Where it's like, it's kind of like the karate thing, right? You learn to fight so you don't have to. So you've gotten your, fuckboy enlightenment. There you go. You've gotten your, but the thing is, you can always go back to that. So I think that's, you don't have like a need there, right? It's more of like, I've been there, I've done that. I know I could go back to that life if and when I want to. Yeah. And I think that kind of makes it easier to step away.
Yeah. And I've done some dark things, man. So I think that it comes down to like, I saw some video the other day and it was just in regards to like, how can you have a life that you truly want if you haven't gone through a life that you truly don't want? So it's like going through that thing where that phase of, I went through a lifestyle that I don't ever want to go back to. And that's where I kind of am on that like borderline now. Cause I'm like, well, are there any girls that are like, I'm such a perfectionist that I'm so critical, like hypercritical of like girls. And now I'm at that point where I'm like, okay, I do miss the feeling of like being loved. Because the last person I was with like loved me more than anything. And like it gives you that feeling as a guy, like power.
Yeah.
Like when someone loves you so much. But I also ultimately have to be like a realist and I have to be like, okay, well, until the career is where it needs to be, like I'm not going to like go out of my way right now because that's just going to distract me. I know it will.
Yeah. And I feel like when you don't have a problem with women, actually, obviously, but like I feel like a lot of guys that are always like all about trying to get somebody or meet women. It's not until they take a step back and focus on other stuff, which I think that's what makes them more attractive. When you kind of like don't make it the priority, like you need a mission first and you need to like have your other shit together, as you were saying. But for you, I feel like it's a little bit different because you can already get women.
But the caliber of women that you get once you do start just focusing on your own stuff,
very different,
is a lot higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's why I feel like once I get to a certain place with everything, like the right person will come in at the right moment.
Mm-hmm.
So now what are these businesses like that we were talking about as far as, keeping you occupied, the investor meetings and all that stuff?
Yeah. So I'm partner now at a media production company where we help creators monetize on all of their social platforms, Snapchat, YouTube, Instagram. So And we also like, give capital, invest in creators who kind of are in this place where, again, they've been on YouTube for quite some time. They've made bags on YouTube and stuff like that, but now they're at this point where it's like, okay, well, I really don't know what I want to do anymore. They're experiencing this burnout. And we're like, all right, cool. We'll invest X, Y, and Z in you. We'll do this rev share split, and we'll shoot your content and help elevate, not just your YouTube channel, but also like your Snapchat, get you a Snapchat series, get you sort of Snapchat publisher. Same with Facebook. Same with, Instagram and TikTok, bring you brand deals, bring you brand activations. Like when you do, like, for example, like a podcast, like something like this. And then I've also invested in a company called FitPlan app that got bought out by a company called FitLab. So my preferred stock went to common stock in there. And then we're supposed to be getting paid out actually in the next couple months, a nice sizable 6-7 figure check.
Nice.
Coming around April time.
That's attractive.
Yeah, it's attractive. But it's been a rough thing. I've actually been talking to, because Alex Rodriguez was one of the big investors. Same with Mark Mastroff, Paul Martino. I don't know how much I can say on that one, but when it came to that, there was some things that happened, and I had to converse with A-Rod's team for quite some time, which was cool.
Nice.
But I think the next thing after that is like, how do I take that money and leverage it? Because I made a good bit of money in 2020, and I also spent it like an idiot, like blowing 100 G's in one day, man.
Jesus
Just on
Christ.
stupid shit. Yeah. Like dumb shit. Like, bro, like there's one day I dropped $44,000 at a strip club.
Just for you or for the
Bro,
friends too?
Just for me, bro.
No way.
Yes, bro.
What'd you get for $44,000?
$44,000.
That's a champagne room.
In a strip club in fucking Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Jesus.
Not in Vegas, not in anywhere cool.
That's like $440,000 in LA or Vegas.
And
Yeah,
you
or
probably
Miami.
changed
Yeah.
10 women's lives.
Yeah, literally. I just remember they just kept bringing me Dom. I was in this room that had a couch, and just like, I've never seen girls like this in Pittsburgh in my life. And I remember being like, all right, whatever, like I'm going to get a room with them. Maybe drop like 2-4 G's or whatever. And because they were hot as shit. They were like from Miami. Like they were like traveling up the coast to go to New York and shit. And I had the latest night with them, and I was so fucked up, dude. I was so fucked up. Got
Hey,
topped
you know what,
off,
though?
Which was nice, though.
There you go. Yeah.
$44,000 top off.
Wow.
I'll never forget, man. And then I went to New York like a couple of days after that. And was just like, what the fuck did I spend that money on? And I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to buy a Rolex and like a Cartier bracelet. No. So dumb, dude.
Hey, it's an expensive lesson. That's all it is.
Yeah, it was an expensive lesson, but I'm happy that I took money and set it aside and like set up my own private placement, invested in 2 companies, because when I look back on it, I was like, bro, like that money, I traveled the world in 2020. So like when I was trying to do FBOY and they were casting me, like I was in the Maldives, I was in Tulum for like 10 days. I was in Aspen for 14 days. I went to Dubai. I went to Bali. I traveled everywhere during 2020. Like COVID wasn't a thing for me then.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
You beat it.
So, but yeah, expensive lesson.
Mm-hmm. All right. I wanted to ask you this while we were on the relationship stuff before. What do you look for in somebody now that you've gone through the ringer and you've been in love recently, and you like what qualities in terms of like wife material?
Wife material? There's a girl named Casey Boone. She's wife material. Everything she has is wife material.
Okay.
What about her?
Yeah. What is it? Because I don't know who she is.
Can I do a little research on
You
her?
can research her.
All right, Casey Boone.
Beautiful smile. Physically fit. She's an athlete. Like I'd go on hikes, bro, like running, and she would run with me, and like she would beat me down the hill. And I was like, what? Like a girl who's an athlete like that?
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
I was gonna ask if you knew her, which obviously you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
C or a K?
C.
C-A-S-E-Y.
Yeah.
B-O-O-N-E.
Great cook. It's my
Oh,
ex-girlfriend.
I got it.
Oh, it is. There we go. Okay. Okay.
Great cook, everything like that. She's just an amazing girl. She's a beautiful soul. Everything. She's just.
Oh, so this is the one that you love.
This is the one I love.
Loved.
Yeah.
All right, I want to look at the racy ones. I want to.
But no, she's just a beautiful girl. She's an amazing soul, great personality, everything like that.
Is she Australian?
She's Australian.
Ah, so is
Everything
Hannah.
is just the inside, bro. Like the way that she loved me was one of those things for me where I was like, this can't be real. And that was where like I pushed those boundaries and I pushed it like over the edge. It's like, This girl, like, I would literally be like, oh man, I need to go get a Venom Hyper for my muscles. I'd come up to the next day, like, about to like order this, and like she'd be like, oh, I got you something. Or I'd be like, yo, I need these new sweats or whatever. And I'd go to John Elliott and be like, hey, I'm going to John Elliott today to check out these sweats or whatever. Cause she'd be like, where are you going? And I would go, and like we'd come back, and I would buy one set, and then she'd get me like the same set but in like different colors. And I'd be like, oh my God.
Dude, I'll tell you, there's no higher high than that feeling.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, like we always said before, right? You sleep with a hot chick or whatever, but when you find someone, like Hannah does exactly what you're saying, right? Today I had a long day at work. I was like, all right, I'll be home in 5 minutes for lunch. Come home, the lunch is all made. She's like, what are you gonna wear tonight? I'm gonna iron it for you. I'm like
It's
why
the
do you?
best thing in the world.
Yeah, and I think it's so rare that
rare.
once you have that and you're like, you know, I'm not ready for it, you might not ever find it again. It's like shit.
I know. That's kind of why, like, I'm like, and I met someone recently, like, who like very similar. It was like very similar in that aspect. And this is so fucked up to say, but like, her teeth, she needs to fix her teeth.
Okay.
A little bit.
Okay.
And like, for me, even when I had a past ex, it was the same thing. I was like, hey, like, I think you just need to like maybe just get Invisalign or something. They ended up doing it, and like it made me actually want to stay with them. But there's certain little things, like those little quirks, where I'm like, yo, teeth are so important to me. You gotta figure that one out. But besides that, like, it came down to like Casey, the inside of that girl, like it was just pure love. Like, that girl just gave me so much love, and I think that's really like what it comes down to. But someone who also can keep up with your lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or not, but like if I wanted to like party or something like that, like she'd be right there with me. Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
if I-
Holding your hair back and shit.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, not my. But yeah, no, I had my DOC. Like, she'd be on the same thing, same wave, and like that was super cool. And I think the biggest thing was like, I loved waking. My favorite part of the day was waking up with her and going to bed with her.
And you know what's super cool? Just looking at her, she's very attractive, so she could probably get any guy she wants. And the fact that she wanted you
Yeah.
is probably like, that's the best. It's like, you don't need me. Like, I'm not the end all be all for you as far as looks. You can get any guy you want,
Yeah.
but you want me. That's super cool.
Yeah. And the thing was, it was a little bit off-putting, like having someone like love you that much. That was what was off-putting at the beginning. I was like, bro, like I'm hooking up with someone else right now, and I just met you, and like you're like giving me so much love. Because like for me, like I have that guard up, and now I know like when I'm talking to someone, like I'm never gonna do that again. And the coolest thing with that was like she brought this like little kid side out of me, that side that like you never want your boys to see, but like when you're with her, like you have this little like
Little Garrett
quirky,
baby
like-
voice.
Yeah, exactly. The little baby voice things and stuff like that, and little nicknames for each other. So yeah, that was that's the ideal person.
But now, do you guys communicate at all?
No, she DM'd me over Christmas.
And you didn't answer.
No, I explained that.
Yeah, we talked.
Oh,
to
that. Oh,
I
I
think
thought,
the
I thought
Kratom's
Casey.
hitting
Oh,
him.
I thought the DM for Christmas was the Fuckboy
from
Island
Steve
girl.
Are you drunk on this little guy?
Dude,
Yeah,
I'm
he's faded.
I'm
He's
feeling something.
faded.
He's faded.
I'm feeling something.
It'll get you feeling some type of way.
The first few sips really got me. Now I took another sip.
Oh, let me ask. Are you still going to therapy?
So I kind of stopped doing my therapy stuff. Once we broke up, dude, I've never had this happen in my life. Normally, like when I'm in a breakup, it's one of those things where I find someone else or I have something on the back end or whatever it is. Like I figure out a way to like just drown out my sorrows. This was like the first time I've ever in my life went through a breakup where I was like, I'm not going to fuck anyone. I'm not going to do any of this stuff. I'm going to go through this like a fucking man. The first 9 days were like, and I've heard people say this, like I can't eat, I can't do stuff, like my like the anxiety is like crazy, like I'm feeling crippled. Like, what are you talking about, pussy? Like that happened to me? Yeah, right. Dude, the first 9 days were so bad. I had 9 straight therapy sessions every single day. I just would try to talk to the therapist for like 2 hours just because I was tripping.
Wow.
Because like how it ended too, I was like, this is how it ended over everything that happened, like this moment. Okay. But yeah, I did therapy pretty hard for that, and then it got to a point when I was talking to this therapist, and I kept switching up therapists, and because they kept giving me like weird answers for certain things, and it was like, I don't feel like you're really dissecting this the way that I need it to be. And then the last therapist I had, it just kind of got to a point where like she just wanted to talk about like life, and I was like, I don't really want to talk about that. I only wanted really wanted
You
to
smashed the
talk to you.
therapist or no? Okay. I expected that.
I
To.
used BetterHelp. You guys
Okay.
seen-
Yeah, I've seen the
little
YouTube
ad,
ads.
No?
Let me
Yeah.
ask you this though. Do you think so like that first 9 days, right? Do you think that any of it was your ego? Or it was like how could a woman break up with me? Right? Because I've kind of had that happen before, like not to an extreme level, but it clouded my judgment and my logic because I was like, I had to prove that I could get someone back
Yeah.
to myself, and I didn't realize it till after the fact. Did you have any of that going on?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. And I mean, this could be some really good relationship advice or breakup advice just in general, is you do experience kind of this heroin with that person where like when it's that game of like I get them back and I get that dopamine rush of like love. And it's like, when you don't get a drug for long enough, like, you go back and like you finally get that hit of them just giving you a little bit of validation or a little bit of love. And then that's like that drug feeling that you get. When it came to her, I think the biggest thing, and this is probably the best breakup advice that you could ever give anyone, is time is everything. Like even though you have to go through all of it, but going through all of it with yourself and like talking to people that like are close to you, like people you can really trust, not just your homies that are like, yeah, man, just go out and fuck something else, you'll be cool. Like talking to your parents, talking to your mom, talking to whoever's like super close to you that knows you and is going to give you real advice, and like being able to do that with a therapist, giving it the time, helps you realize like, all right, is this for ego? Is this not for ego? And I think for me, like we broke up in September, and just recently, finally for the first time, like after like 2 months, I was like, yeah, fuck this, like I'm good, like I'm moving, I'm done, I've moved on. But recently, I sit here and I still think in my head like, fuck, like I really loved that girl, and it was just bad timing for me. Like that was a lesson from God. Like when we were together, it was the best thing ever. Like every single person that was around us was like, you guys just radiate, like you're so happy, because we were so happy together. But it was just the wrong timing. It was just bad. It was poor timing. It was like right when the TV show came out, like I was hooking up with a bunch of girls. I was doing all this stuff for like clout and stuff like that. I just didn't really care. I couldn't see what was right in front of my face. I don't think when I look back at it, it came down to like ego of me getting her back. At first I thought that for a little bit. I was like, oh, this is just like ego of me trying to get her back. Now I'm over it. I'm done. I've moved on. But yeah, I don't think, because I've done that before where it's the ego. This one was not.
Do you think it's gone for good?
The ego or what do you mean?
No, the relationship.
It would be so hard for someone like that to be able to trust me based off the things that I did
Okay.
throughout the relationship. It just, it was bad, man. Like it wasn't good. And if the tables were turned, I would sit there and I'd be like, you don't love me. And the thing is that like, it sucks because it wasn't until I went through this entire journey of like that TV show being a very pivotal moment of my life for me, like kind of changing. And then her really making me realize like, hey, you do need to change, because every single relationship you've ever been in, whether you've hurt that person, you've always been hurt too. It's like hurt people. I don't know. So like, yeah, I don't know. To trust me after all that, good luck.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how do you think like going into your next, potential relationship, like how what are you gonna do? Like what are you gonna say? What are you gonna try to do to show someone that they should trust you?
I think that I'm going to need a couple like maybe flings or things where I go through it, because like even when I was talking to someone like recently, I see these triggers that happen to me in certain moments where I'm like, oh shit, like I'm doing this again. Like I'm seeking for a little bit more validation than I need in this moment. I don't need validation here. Why am I doing this? And I think the biggest thing is like when you're with someone and talking to someone, like just talking to that person. Like for me, every single time I've ever talked to a girl, like I have like 5, 6, 7 girls that I'm talking to on the side while I'm trying to talk to like the person like that I want to talk to most, just in case like that rejection happens or something like that, which then there's the ego.
Yeah. And do you believe like deep down in monogamy and like a traditional relationship, at least traditional in this country? Like, is that the ideal for you, or? Because I will say also, a side note, we got a couple couple of questions in when we said we were having you on the pod, and a girl said, you know, she's like, give Garrett my number if he's into non-monogamy. Just a side note, but I guess the question still stands. I think we lost this light back here. The question still stands. Like, do you deep down, is that your ideal? Is, you know, monogamy, wife, kids? Is that what you want? Or
I mean, listen, if this chick wants to have like a threesome with a couple of her friends, 4-some, 5-some, I'm down.
you're not gonna say
I'm
no.
not gonna
I
say
think
no.
that's what the intention is.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say no. So I'm not gonna say no, especially at this point in my life. I've had many of those, a lot, bro. Like, it was funny. We were talking about that at the office today. They were asking me like, how many times have you had like more than one partner? Because even with like the last relationship I was in, like, dude, we fucked other chicks together, which was,
I've never been in a threesome. I'm very jealous.
oh, dude, I've been many more than like a lot of dudes have just slept with girls in general. I've been in so many. Yeah, they're great. not
wants to. She's open to doing it. To, if I ever get a mind that strays,
Yeah,
she's like, I'm down to do a threesome, but I don't know.
You got to get new sheets.
I
Silk
have to
sheets.
get drapes, and I have to
Yeah,
be a threesome
threesome
guy.
guy.
I'm not gonna be a
I
threesome
think
guy.
for me, man, I look at my parents and I look at how strong their relationship is. Same with my grandparents, and I see like the kids that my grandparents raised, and I see like what my parents have done in general. And like for me, like that's the most powerful thing as a kid, is having like two parents that love each other more than anything, and like don't stray, don't do any of that shit. It really like, it sets such a solid foundation for a kid. And it sucks because a lot of people like are forced to not have a mom or not have a dad or not have parents at all, or, you know, have an adoption where they feel like they're left out and they need to go find like their real parents. And like it fucks up kids, and those traumas, whether those kids realize it or not, or they want to sit there and put up like a, you know, a wall, it affects every relationship that they have. And you'll see stuff where I have friends who are like, you know, they just have their mom, and like everything they do in their life is like to prove like to their dad, like, yo, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna go be successful. Like, you left, you know, you left mom, like, etc. And it's whether they want to admit it or not, but like, man, those traumas are so deep, dude. And like that's something that I could say I'm so blessed with, is having two of the most amazing parents that like have never strayed off, like have set such good like morals and ethics. And I'm like, fuck, well, I've done the complete opposite. Now it's time to do what I've been seeing my entire life. And sometimes as kids we do that. We, you know, you have, you know, a teenage daughter who their parents want them to do a certain thing and they want to do the complete opposite, and then they do that, and then they come back crying and they're like, I should have never done that, I'm so sorry. Like, so
How have your parents? So your parents obviously seem, like you said, they're amazing, wholesome people, salt of the earth, Pittsburghians. I don't know what you call them.
Yinzers.
Do they watch the show? How do they react to everything that you do?
There was a line in the show that was chopped up like 4 times, and the line was literally, it was right off of episode 1, and it was like, you know, when I open up to a girl,
Oh,
they open up their legs to me. My dad called me after that, and he was like, you know what, son? Not a good look. I was like, and for my dad to say that, like, it kind of
Dad had to fuck with you,
got
yeah.
me, because I was like, man, for my dad to say that, like, he doesn't really talk about stuff like that.
Yeah.
For him to
He's
be
not
like,
mad. He's disappointed.
yeah,
that
just
will fuck
disappointed,
you
and I'm
up.
like,
Yeah.
shit.
Damn.
Yeah. But then towards the end, they kind of realized that, like, well, the TV show was FBOY Island, and the reality is that it's a reality TV show, and it doesn't matter that much.
Yeah, and you know, you wouldn't have been on the show unless you were as entertaining as you were. Like, you were the guy. You were the villain. They were like, this fucking guy's gonna take this show to the next level. So you had to play it up.
Yeah, I played it up for sure.
Yeah.
It was fun, man.
I'm
if
sure
I
it
was to go
was.
back on a TV show, same thing. Like, I'd play it up again.
Yeah. I mean, Harry did the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
he did his version of that, and like,
Yeah.
you know, he's made an incredible career so far since.
Yeah. Harry's, I actually watched, that was like one of the first reality TV shows I watched besides like Jersey Shore.
Mm-hmm.
Jersey Shore for
GOAT.
me, like, yeah, it was so goated, dude. Like, I would literally watch Jersey Shore, and like, I'd want to gym tan laundry like when I was like,
We all did.
Yeah, dude, and like go get chicks, and like, and that's what it was like in high school. It was like we'd have house parties, and like LA's scene of like house parties, same thing, like exclusivity. But for me, it was like I got hazed, dude. Like, I got picked off the bus when I was in 9th grade. when I was going to 9th grade, like the last day of 8th grade, and got picked up by the seniors that were going to be seniors, and got my fucking ass paddled. Like till my ass was black and blue, dude.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that too comes down to like having these experiences and doing these things, but like trying not to hurt other people in the process, which is a huge part of it, because you end up, especially with something like this, when there's other people involved, like you're going to hurt other people. So that for me is like the big thing that I always think about is like, is this going to hurt somebody else? And it sucks when it does.
Yeah. I actually have a new, I have a challenge that I'm doing.
Oh, I was going to bring that up. I saw it in your story. Yeah.
And that's one of those things, like that act of kindness is one thing that I want to do every single day, and just holding myself accountable, man. I got to go to bed in, about 3 hours. I got to wake up at 5:30, cold plunge at least 11, 12 minutes a week, fix my shoulder, eat a certain way, learn some Spanish. My sister's deaf, so I need to learn some sign language for her. Just started a podcast, so that will be coming out soon, releasing an episode once a week on my pod. Trying to get some Instagram posts up since I don't post much there. And then no caffeine, no alcohol, no porn, no nicotine. Call my family, go to church every Sunday, and daily act of kindness, man. So
wow, I love that.
it's gonna be hard, but
yeah. How do you see that? Because what does it say? Go to bed at like 9:30 and wake up at 5:30.
yeah, try to get to bed by 10.
Is that supposed to be every day of the week?
Yeah, so far I've been locked in. I think the cold plunge was one of those things where it was like, yo, this is the worst thing.
Yeah. Never gets
Now-
easier either.
It does. That's the thing.
I don't know. I haven't done
Once
it in
you
a while.
get past
But...
like the 2 minutes of like being completely frozen, you're like, all right, I got
Oh, no.
this.
I mean like on a day-to-day basis. Like, yeah, you start to go numb, but like every time you're about to go in for the first time, then it's like, oh, fuck, I don't want to do this. But like you said, yeah, you eventually
I
numb
try not
up.
to think about it. I'm like, I'm just getting in.
You must feel so accomplished though, doing a cold plunge at 5 a.m.
It's nice. I've actually been doing my cold plunge at night.
Oh, at night. Okay.
Yeah, and I fall asleep like a little baby.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we have a hot tub, so I jump in the hot tub right after. I got a question for you guys.
Hit us up.
Shoot.
What do we got?
First round's on me. I think this is a great idea. This is something that I feel like I thought of an idea similar to that called nudge in college. But my question for you guys is, what are your thoughts, we're all guys in here, on Andrew Tate? And everything
Dude,
that's
super
happening?
interesting.
Supposedly just today they found out that he's having some issues inside the jail cell. And when he was on the Nelk, Full Send podcast, he was like, first things first is like they're gonna try to shut me down. Second, they're gonna try to put me in jail. Third, they're gonna try to take me out.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
right now?
So I obviously, since it's the most popular thing in the world right now over the last 2 weeks, been looking into it. Here's what I would say. I think there's ways to say things, right? And sometimes I look at clips because we have a mutual friend who posts a lot of his stuff and is pro him. And I think if you listen to the words, I'd say it makes sense. But I think the way he does it, so like I feel like what he's trying to say, Jordan Peterson also says it, but in a very different way, more of a scientific way of an engaging conversation.
Yeah.
Whereas Andrew Tate kind of jams a lot of his things down your throat and does make it like a very too much of a masculine world, which I don't like. So I feel like I don't know the legalities of all things going on. I know there was some conspiracy about some sex ring he's got going on.
Yeah.
I
Well, you
feel
saw on Joe Rogan's podcast with, I don't know if you saw it with Dave Portnoy. Joe Rogan was like,
I didn't watch that yet. I can't wait to watch that.
well, he said, he was like, there's a bunch of little girls that were around when he was out in Romania, and he was like, they wouldn't look at me. And he was like, it felt a little sus.
Whoa.
Yeah, so that's the thing, right? Like, I don't know what goes on. I feel like the way he speaks, I personally don't like it. I feel like it's very aggressive, but some of the things he says, I guess, make sense. But I feel like there's a way to talk and have like open conversations, right? Like you think men are this way, the world sees it maybe this way. Like, what's the dialogue? What's the conversation? He's just so aggressive and down your throat. Like, it's a man's world. I'm just like, all right, like, it's too much for me.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually hadn't heard about him until I think a dude. Do you know Jesse James West, YouTuber, fitness guy?
I've heard
he did a collab with him, and that's the first time I even heard about him. It might have been 6 months ago or 9 months ago.
Yeah.
And then obviously recently I've been keeping up. I think that kind of like drawing a parallel to you on the show, like you may say extreme things to like get more of an entertainment value and shock value for the show. I think that's what he does for his basically career, right? Where he's saying shit in the most outrageous way possible to get, you know, more attention and to deliver his message in like a more exciting way, right?
Yeah.
So, but I also think
Controversial too.
yeah, exactly. That's the key word, controversial. I think also what you were saying before about not having like a strong father figure. I think he's a guy that probably a lot of young guys that maybe don't have a strong father figure like look to as like their father figure, which I think is kind of why he has like this cult following of, you know, guys that feel like either angry or like trying to make their way in the world. And he's just like this guy that on the surface level, you know, women, cars, money, it's like speaking his mind all the time. It's very attractive to a young guy that might be kind of confused.
Young, ignorant men.
Yeah.
Boys. They're not men yet.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it hooks them.
Yeah.
But again, like you said, you can. There's some things he say that says
Dude,
that
he's
definitely
good.
makes sense.
He's good. He's really good. There was an interview that he had on one of the news outlets, and his answer to it, they tried to like bait him. I forget what exactly the question was, but it was something around the lines of like something in regards to like women and like men's like the way that, and he hit them with like, so he like answered the question, but with before he answered the question, he gave all this detail and background on like, you know, the men's role in a relationship, etc. And then finally was like, yeah, so if you think that, you know, a man is supposed to treat a woman, blah, 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 like based off of this, like, then that's, and I was like, dude, this guy's quick. He's good.
Exactly. He's
witty.
quick and good. He did one I watched yesterday on stoicism and how men need to be stoic and not show their emotions. And he did the same thing. He went through all the statistics, analytics, and the examples.
Exactly.
And it sounded good, but I was like, I don't know. I feel like,
Yeah.
you know,
will say, too,
there's
'cause
balance.
His girl said, yo, Andrew Tate is a pig. I don't know how I can deal with it yet.
I don't know. I feel like I just like, me personally, I like to be a unifier and I like everyone
Yeah.
to just feel good. And I like to bring people together. And if we disagree, totally fine, but let's at least do it maturely. And seeing the thing he did with Greta Thunberg, and again, I don't really know her and I know she's very liberal, but like, I would never just come at someone and be like, oh, I have 7 Lamborghinis that give off emissions. It's like, all right, like if you want to talk about, you know, if you want to talk about green gas emissions and get into like the science, it's great. But I wouldn't come at you and be like, yeah, I'm pumping out all this gas into the world. It's like, all right,
He
like
had
you're
another
just
comeback after that. It was nuts. And I was like, oh my God, that was a lot.
Yeah, I went on a date like probably like 3 months ago, and one of the first questions this chick asked was, how do I feel about Andrew Tate?
Oh,
Yeah.
right there, that's a red flag.
A big red flag.
If
Yeah.
a girl said that to me, I'd be like, yo, red flag. Like, if I can end this date with, like, at least smashing at some point, that's great. But besides that, like, the fact that we're talking about this, like, if that would change your opinion on who I am as a person, like, get out of here. Because he makes some great points, and then he also says some things that are very foul. When I first heard him on a podcast, I was like, bro, I fucking
Fuck this guy.
hate this dude.
Yeah.
And then after that, I was like, you know what? Actually, after, like, I really looked into it, I was like, he has some great points. And if he does live his life this way and like he isn't like a pig around girls and like people don't have bad things to say about him, which no one does. If you look at the podcast with the Nelk Boys, etc., with like Aiden Ross going on, etc., he doesn't seem like a bad person. He just
I will say, because I agree with that. Like,
if
I
he
don't
does
like
have
the
a sex
guy.
ring, dude, that's fucked.
Of course, yeah. The one thing I will say though is like I feel like, you know, the three of us and a lot of people like you can use judgment and you can take his message and not be brainwashed by like the negative stuff that he says.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of these young kids out there, young guys that take it at face value and they think, you know, women are property and they think these things that they can't discern like the message from the marketing side of it. So that's where I think it gets a little dangerous. Same thing with like a Trump, right? He may say something that may be true, but like the people that take it too far can't use judgment to figure it out.
Like grab her by the pussy.
Exactly.
yeah, I just don't like extreme. Like I try and
fuck
I
extremes.
internally know my politics. I know what's going on. I don't care about politics with other people. I don't really care. I'm just it's a crazy extreme world on both sides, and I'm just like, listen, I know my lane. I know what I believe in. I'm open to everything. If you come at me with a point, I would love to hear it. But I hate people who are so extreme about all this stuff.
I think the way that you're going to get the icing on the cake is you don't own women. They're never going to be your property. If you can be the guy who's going to be a provider for your woman ultimately, and you're working at a goal every single day and being the best version of you, and you're self-aware enough to know that the girl you're with is not just like around for all the wrong reasons, then you're going to win at the end of the day.
100%.
And you're going to be happy. I truly believe that you'll be happy by doing that.
Yeah. 100%. So
find
wait,
out.
actually, it reminds me of something. If you could change, if you could have one law in the world, and again, it's crazy law, right? But what would the law be that everyone has to follow?
Oh man, first thing that comes to my head, I'm such an animal lover, man. And like, dude, like animal cruelty really fucks with me a lot. I know it's completely off topic of probably what the answer that you wanted, but like,
No, I literally wanted anything.
the people who like abuse animals, who don't treat their animals like properly, don't give their animals the right diet and nutrition, who don't like clean their animals, or like people who abuse animals or exploit animals, that to me fucks with me the absolute most, and I wish that that would never happen. Like that's to me like the worst. That's not me saying, oh, I'm vegan or anything like that. Like, don't get me wrong, I eat steak all the time. Like, I eat animal all the time. But like, as far as, and that's hard to like sit here and say because like again, I'll only get like the best quality of meat. And I believe like back in the day, like hunters and stuff like that, like if you're able to take the animal and you can find the right companies that like, you know, use all the parts of the animal and like they treat it right, it's just that's life. That's a circle of life. But yeah, that would be like the number one law to me, man.
Love that.
Like,
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah. And one thing I want to say about stoicism, because I love stoicism, is that it's not, and I don't know what Andrew Tate said about it, but it's not about suppressing your emotions, right? It's about not allowing your emotions to control you and make, you know, bad decisions or,
Yeah.
so it's kind of just taking it, accepting it, thinking it through, and then not letting it push you to do something.
And that's the hardest thing for a guy.
Certainly.
It's so hard when your emotions are flared up over someone that you love, or like you overthink a situation. And sometimes as guys, we sabotage things, or like we get into our head and we like try to like make out some weird scenario in our head and like make it be true. And eventually like when you keep pushing it, like it ends up being true because like you're pushing it to be there and you're making it happen and you're speaking it into existence. And I think like that's the dude, like learning how to react and like learning when to be able to walk away. Yeah. Another law, man, like just don't ever hit a woman. Don't
Of course,
like,
yeah.
emotionally abuse a woman. Like,
I think stoicism and these examples are the best for business too, right? So like we're in a business and we have so many highs and so many lows. And if you showed your emotion with all the highs and lows, you'd go crazy.
yeah.
And it's kind of just stoically trying to stay in that middle ground.
And when you can, like that's when you're the most powerful.
Mm-hmm.
You really are. Like you're the most powerful, you're the most like steady minded. Like I just think, man, everyone, especially out here, man, people just highs, lows, like people on drugs, high, low, like partying and being like, oh, I was with this person last night. Like, dude, what's that going to do for you? Absolutely nothing. Good luck.
Yeah.
Go focus on your career and then have your career intersect with that person the right way.
Yeah, 100%. Another question I wanted to ask, not that you need to, but have you ever used dating apps?
I used Tinder one time a while back. I actually tried to sign up for Hinge one time and I wrote the most ridiculous caption on Hinge and it was like, literally, I think I wrote like just looking to fuck and I got deleted.
Like they want you to be honest, but
I was just got out of something and I was like, you know what? Like I don't feel like being on here. So if anyone wants to swipe, like they can. But that was, so I used Tinder and then I used Hinge. Hinge, I put that caption on. I literally got deleted within probably 24 hours. I was blown away. I was like, what?
Wow.
I don't think I got one like on there. Tinder, when it first came out, one of my boys told me to go on it. I went on it. I found like one of the hottest girls I thought would be in Pittsburgh. Showed up to my boy's restaurant, Mad Mex in Pittsburgh. Saw her and I was like,
wow, full on catfish.
dude, I literally just looked at her and I
moved
was
to LA
like,
after that.
just kind of looked at her and I walked away. And she was just like, texted me on the app and was like, and I deleted the app that night. I was like, this.
What year was this?
Man, it had to have been like 2013.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's no way you were on Tinder in the last 5 years.
No, it was a long time ago, man. At least like a decade ago.
Okay.
It was like whenever it first came out, so whenever that was. It might have been when I was like a freshman in college. Even like 2012, 2011, I don't know.
Okay. Anything else for you, Joe?
No, I mean, it's fucking
Yeah.
awesome.
Any closing thoughts? Maybe a message to Garrett in 5 years. 33-year-old or 34-year-old Garrett. What would you tell him?
What would I tell
What does life look like?
By that time, you need to find yourself a very, very good woman. You need to be financially stable to the point that you have financial freedom. And I think the next thing would be to travel and just be a better person. Be good, have way better relationships with your family and the people that you love, and all. That's what I would give them in 5 years.
Nice. And I think if you follow your daily steps, that's the path to get there.
Yeah,
Part of the path.
Yeah, that's the path to doing things that I don't want to fucking do and being uncomfortable and just doing it.
But knowing you'll be better for it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and all the people out there that still give Garrett shit, he's a good dude. I'm being honest.
Yeah, baby. The caffeine thing, I'm really hoping that like in a week or two that I find such a more clear vision. Like I'm just, because even like earlier today, I was, man, I'm so tired.
Yeah, you'll
So
get
I'm
there.
hoping that, yeah.
And especially, I mean, combining the no caffeine with the new sleep schedule, it's just a
Yeah.
bunch of changes at
Well,
once.
Sleep's everything.
Yeah.
This Whoop app, bro. If you don't have a Whoop, get
Whoop?
a Whoop. Dude,
You
I live
Whoop
by my Whoop.
over
I
Aura.
had the Aura ring. I have both of them. I tried both of them. I did a comparison. You can't work out with an Aura ring the right way. The problem with Whoop is that it tracks more of like your cardiovascular stuff versus like lifting. So if you're like weightlifting and stuff like that, your strain will be like 8 to 9. But there's times where I'm in there and I'm like, no, there's no chance. Like I went so hard and I know that my 1 mile jog like didn't give me a strain of like 14. So that's the only thing that's off. Aura is a little bit better on sleep. Aura is a great like sleep thing or just like a daily like health monitor. It's a little bit more accurate, has a little bit more on the data analysis side. But as far as like actually being able to work out and like have something that's good, that's tracking you and putting you in the right thing, like dude, Whoop fucking crushes it. I can hoop in it. I can do really anything in it.
Do you hoop?
Yeah, all the time. We were just talking about that earlier. I play at Cross Court. Cross Court's actually looking for an investment, and when I get paid out in April, I'm hoping to put potentially some money in there if their round is still open.
Cool.
They're
We got a
opening
hoop.
up couple more locations. Dude, come down. I have so many passes, dude. It's insane.
Yeah.
We'll get Joe. I was talking about Joey goes there. Ropo
Okay. Yeah.
can
Yeah.
play. So yeah, we'll make it happen.
What's his name? Jonathan.
Yeah, we got a little squad.
Okay.
All right, cool.
Yeah, come on down. You actually can't roll with your squad though. Like they
Oh, you
put
have to be a member?
on and no, you can't. If you have your squad there, like they break
they
you
sign you up,
normally.
like you sign up and then
Yeah,
just
and
okay.
then how it rolls is like you can't just come in and like it's like you have 15 people, so it's like almost like 3 teams that get picked out, and you rotate. So the first team that plays, you only play for like I think it's like 10 or 11 minutes. I think it's 10 minutes, and then or like whoever scores 11 points first, and it's 2s and 3s,
Okay.
and then you switch out immediately. You get
Both
like a
teams
third-
switch out.
No, whoever wins stays on.
Okay.
And then the other person comes on. If your team wins 3 times in a row, you get a break. But bro, it's like an actual exercise.
Where is
It's
it?
so much fun. It's 333 Mission Boulevard downtown.
Okay.
It's sick, dude.
Cool.
It's super fun. You got music blasting. It's a good crew. They now have like stuff where you can like really like. They're actually licensing out one of my friends who's a doctor. Because they're gonna start giving you like athletic trainers on staff. Like you can go there and you can work out. You can go there. I mean, they need a better gym setup, but it's really good for like recovery and you know, getting some runs in, bro.
All right, cool.
Getting
I'm pumped,
on
bro.
the court, bro. Getting
Let's do it.
buckets.
Let's do it. All right, Garrett, bro. Thank you so much for coming
Absolutely,
on.
guys. Thanks for having
Appreciate
me.
talking to you, man. Thank you.
Real quick, thoughts on the Feel Free?
I like it a lot. I mean, I have an interesting diet myself, so I like weird shit that tastes like it tasted fine to me. But
It's making me
I might
feel
be feeling a little
type
bit,
of
little
way.
woozy.
I mean,
Gets
yeah.
you feeling a little.
I might supplement it for
like-
substitute it for coffee for a little bit. I don't know. You guys are inspiring me.
Yeah,
We'll
drop
see.
your 3 cups of coffee a day, man. And on that note, we're out.
Yeah.